Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and Chag Samayach. Guess what? Yep, it's time to get Jewishly confused again. Why not? There really isn't a lot to get upset about right now, is there? Okay, here. The festival of Shavuot is observed just on Friday, May 29th, if you live in Israel or if you are a Reformed Jew living in the diaspora outside of Israel. However, if you live outside of Israel and you are associated with the Orthodox or conservative communities, you will in fact be observing Shavuot for 2 days, including Saturday, May 30th. Simple, right? Wow, interesting. Fine. But wait. Since Saturday is Yom Tov Sheni, is the second day of the festival for some, then it pushes aside the regular Torah reading for them. And since Saturday is a regular Shabbat for most Reformed Jews living outside of Israel, then we would be moving on to the next Torah portion, and our communities would not be together in the selection of Torah to be read on this Shabbat. That's not Jewish unity. And what are we going to do next week to put everything back together again? Are you feeling anxious yet? So here's the deal for us. The traditional Torah reading for Shavuot comes from the book of Exodus, especially chapter 20, in which we have the 10 Commandments, because after all, Shavuot has come to celebrate the giving of Torah at Sinai, the 10 Commandments, chapter 20 of Exodus. The second day of Yom Tov, for the traditionalists, we read from Deuteronomy and from the book of Numbers, and we read about how Shavuot is to be celebrated. So it's all about Shavuot. So what we will spend our time today doing is looking at some of what I would call the oddities surrounding Shavuot and some different ways of understanding the 10 Commandments. And next week, we will dutifully study and focus on the Sedra Naso, the next one up. I admit that is an arbitrary decision on my part. And despite all of the expected and fully appropriate incoming missiles and stones and arrows and shouts of derision, I will own that decision. So, at midnight on Friday, at the beginning of Friday morning, as we were all involved in that wonderful period of Jewish study known as Tikkun Leil Shavuot, the heavens opened up and the barriers between our prayers and the throne of mercy in heaven were swept aside. I believe that actually happened. Just as I believe that Elijah comes to every Jewish home during First Seder and visits every circumcision ceremony and baby naming ceremony. Just as I believe that the Shabbat bride literally, actually enters every home where there are candles and wine and challah on Friday evening. Just as I believe that emerging from mikvah is really an occasion of rebirth. Now, of course, these are all humanly devised ceremonies and rituals. Am I supposed to say just humanly devised ceremonies and rituals? I get that. But for me, they are so much more than that. I get that they're all metaphors. Should I say just metaphors? But for me, they are much, much more than just metaphors. Each of these expresses elements of what I profoundly believe about life. Each of these is part of the majestic beauty of a Jewish vision of existence. I deeply believe in them. They're real for me and true beyond question. The heavens do in fact open up Erev Shavuot as we intensify our study of texts that have transformed and continue to transform our world. Elijah's presence, Seder night, and during a Brit Milah or baby naming ceremony, proclaims the powerful understanding that we can choose to live in freedom and that each new birth is an affirmation of life's sanctity, that tomorrow can be better if we but choose to make tomorrow better. The beauty of Shabbat, the love that it represents, the humility that it proclaims before the creative power of God, all of that gives our lives a touch of transcendence, no matter how hard our days might be. And the power of mikvah is found in how it grants to each of us the sense that we can move beyond being the people we are to becoming the people we have chosen and which we yearn to be. So we find ourselves right now in the world of Shabbat, in the world of Yom Tov, and in the world of coronavirus. How do we handle all of this right now? Well, suggestions. We can still undertake some special study, even though Leil Shavuot, Tikkun Leil Shavuot, that time is over. We can still do some special study. Maybe we can just read aloud the Aseret HaDibrot, the Ten Commandments, Exodus chapter 20. And we can chat with their families about their relevance in our world. Or we can pause whatever time we listen to this conversation to recite a quiet yizkor for those whom we will forever mourn. Or we can study the book of Ruth and discuss how welcoming the convert is fundamental to Jewish life. We can bring flowers into our homes, decorating our lives as well as our living spaces. We can, if we so choose, remember to light our Shabbat candles Friday night, 18 minutes before sunset, from a pre-existing flame. That's the halacha for Friday night. And then there are blintzes, mac and cheese, fried ravioli, stuffed eggplant, lasagna, quiche, kugel, cheesecake. All of those now becoming Jewish festival foods because they are dairy. And please, as a favor, stop asking why we eat dairy on Shavuot, because no one knows. No one. There are all kinds of answers. You know my rule about Torah study. The more answers to a question found within rabbinic tradition, the more certain we are that the rabbis are clueless. And if you are dairy intolerant, your meat-based or vegan foods are just as kosher for Shavuot as the kugel next door. Next up, the Ten Commandments. Here's a question. Where is the first setting in which we read of something called the Ten Commandments? Answer: in some Christian English Bible translations, not in any Jewish sources. The Talmudic rabbis and their descendants referred to the 10 as Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 statements. We Jews know of 613 Taryag commandments, of which the 10, yes, foundational. Do you know that the first images we have in stone of the 10 commandments are not the rounded tablets, but actually rectangular tops? The rounded came later in art history. You can forget that. And though this cluster of 10, the Aseret HaDibrot, is repeated in differing forms three times in the Torah, never are they assumed to be the sum total, the quintessence of Jewish moral and religious teachings. So God gave us the whole Torah at Mount Sinai on Shavuot. Right? Not exactly. Here's the thing. because of some difficulty in understanding what the Torah was describing as having taken place actually on Mount Sinai, the rabbis staked out different positions, including the following. One position: Moses received the entire Torah atop Mount Sinai. Another position: Moses received the entire written Torah and the entire oral Torah atop Mount Sinai. Or Moses received the Aseret HaDibrot, the 10 statements atop Mount Sinai, and received the rest of the Torah episodically throughout the wilderness wandering. Now, each of those positions has its devoted and skilled defenders, but please note that each of these possibilities, each shares one aspect, a defining moment, and that is they all assert that something happened at Mount Sinai, the mountain of revelation. And from that point on, the Jewish people felt that it lived in eternal covenant with God. Okay. So, hoping for a little certainty, we can at least be grateful that the Torah affirms a strong connection between Shavuot and the giving of Torah. That's what we're celebrating right now. Well, alas, not quite so. Shavuot and the Torah is the major spring harvest festival. Only later on, post-Torah, will Shavuot be paired with the giving of Torah. Probably because our teachers wanted the latter event to have a single place on our calendar, which we could then celebrate, dedicate to Torah. My friends, so I believe that the barriers between heaven and earth are shattered when Jews study Torah. I believe that Elijah visits every Jewish home during Seder and when we welcome new babies, as we bring them into the Jewish people. I believe that the Shabbat bride graces every home within which wine and candles and challah are present and celebrated. I believe that one can emerge from the mikveh reborn into a new life, if that's what we want that experience to be. And I believe that the Torah evolved as a covenantal document out of an encounter by the Israelites with God at Mount Sinai. I believe that because our people has always believed it. That makes it far more true than any history book could do. Metaphors? Certainly. But for me, there's so much more than that. Each of these events embraces elements of what I profoundly believe about life itself. Each of these is part of the warp and woof of the majestic tapestry, which is the Jewish vision of existence. I deeply believe in them. For me, nothing could be more real. Their power for me, it's unmistakable. That's it. Have a wonderful Shabbat. Have a joyous Chag. Be safe. Be careful. Be responsible as our world now is tentatively opening up. Let's promise to be back together next Shabbat as we explore the Sedra Naso. Shabbat Shalom. Chag Samayach.